Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you another set of action movie reviews. That's right, we're going to be talking about Escape Plan with Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, as well as The Losers with actors like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Zoe Saldana, Idris, Elba, Chris Evans, along with two Dolph Lundgren flicks as well, from Command Performance to Battle of the Damned from 2013 and 2009. So yeah, happy to get back into the action flicks, and again, these are put together as one of my QMRs, and whoever watches these videos may be tired of that. Some of you probably want me to timestamp these videos or something like that, which maybe I should do. So if you guys just want to watch a particular skim over of some of my thoughts on these movies, you can just go right to it, so you don't have to listen to me rant for 10 or 15 minutes or whatever. But for now, that's what you're going to have to deal with. And now Escape Plan, we'll talk about that one. That's the main movie for this video, I'd say. Again, came out in 2013 and is the first movie starring both Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, had made appearances in the Expendables movies and such, but them both leading it, those two being the main characters and focus of the film, is something very, very significant. There have been ideas pitched, for them to do a movie together since the 80s, actually. This time it finally happened. I feel like just after things got settled, after their kind of both their prime times were sort of done, it was something that was a little bit easier to have agreed to. Of course, if you want to talk about the plot a little, IMDb says when a structural security authority finds himself set up and incarcerated in the world's most secret and secure prison, he has to use his skills to escape with help from the inside. And yeah, basically Sylvester Stallone's character's job is to basically find all the issues with different prisons around the world, and basically find a way out, and then report back, and so they can improve them. So there are less prisoners that escape, of course, criminals and everything. But of course, he is set up and actually sent to this very, very super, almost bridging on sci-fi built kind of prison, although not really quite that far. Of course, the prison is run by Jim Caviezel, who plays a fairly good, steely, sort of cold type of villain. I like the tone of voice he uses for the role. Although going up against either Stallone or Schwarzenegger, you don't really think he would stand a chance, but you believe he's very very immersed into the role as much as he could be, and when he has a gun anyway, he does feel somewhat intimidating. And so Escape Plan. Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, ends up being one of the inmates who's already there, who ends up having this other knowledge of it, and somewhat equal determination, of course, to be free of the place. So they end up coming up with different plans together and everything like that, hence the title. Meanwhile, you have Stallone's team, who actually consists of Holly from The Office, as well as Vincent D'Onofrio, who, as you know, as Kingpin from the Daredevil Netflix show, using a completely different voice on this. So again, him and Amy Ryan, as well as 50 Cent. So yeah, overall, I like this movie. Of course, I definitely need to watch more of Stallone, but I definitely do like him. I have a growing appreciation for him and his different roles. I've been doing some Rocky reviews periodically as well. I'm still trying to dive deeper into his catalog. Arnold Schwarzenegger, guys, if you don't know, means a lot to me. He's been my favorite, action hero since I was a little kid. He's still one of my all-time favorite actors to this day. I remember reading in one of his autobiographies in elementary school or middle school, actually. So yeah, I was mostly watching this for him, I guess, but just to see the two together as well. And I think that's what the film succeeds with, obviously, is what they marketed it for, what they promoted it as. And of course, these two, action icons, teaming up. And with that, the movie succeeds. Stallone and Schwarzenegger do have chemistry together. Probably the best scenes in the movie are just, again, their one-on-one conversations with each other, their sort of individual interactions with each other. As far as the action, it is pretty good. It's not really a slow-paced movie necessarily. It takes its time and exploring what they're doing here, some of the inner workings of it and everything. But there's definitely different fights and sort of prison incidents throughout the film, so it never really slows down too much. And you also have Vinnie Jones playing one of Jim Caviezel's henchmen in this movie, basically, if you want to simplify it like that. But I feel like there's something missing about this movie. I'm not sure what it was. I can't quite put my finger on it. And again, Stallone and Schwarzenegger are good. The movie did, I think, what it set out to do. It's just that it didn't really do much beyond that. I felt like more could have been done with such setup of this prison, sort of like being there's no way to escape from this. It didn't really feel as unique of a location as it could have been. It still felt kind of somewhat familiar. But really, there are still standout moments, don't get me wrong, like when Arnold Schwarzenegger may or may not get a hold of a machine gun and he does his signature, squint and stare and everything like that. Both Stallone and Arnold have their moments, and that's, again, what definitely makes the movie. Besides that, though, just nothing really blew me away about it. I think there could have been some other more interesting movie out there they could have done in the past that probably would have stood out as more of a classic, like a movie starring the two should be. Again, it's not a bad movie. I have the Blu-ray and I'm fine with it in my collection, but I would never say that's in the top 10 for either of them, really. Especially with all the Arnold movies I've seen, but it's definitely again, something I think worked for what it was going for. Just if you're looking for something that, oh my god, that's like one of the best movies I've ever seen, or like that's like kind of takes me back to my childhood or whatever, it doesn't quite get there. But overall, if I had to rate it, I'd give it about like an 81%, B- somewhere in there. I did think about putting it into the C70 something range, but I just like Arnold Schwarzenegger so much, and he does get to show some personality in this, along with the more unique look that he has with his goatee and everything. So that kind of puts it over just a little bit, with that 81% there for me. Then the next movie we're going to talk about is going to be The Losers. We'll go into that. Mainly watching this for Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It has to do with the CIA Special Forces team that are betrayed and left for dead by their superiors, galvanizing them to mount an offensive on CIA. And this is a movie that I actually got on DVD from my brother as a birthday present. One I've been pretty curious about for some time. I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan is one of the best actors working today. And he's very charismatic here, as he always is. Now, this movie sort of plays like an A-Team sort of flick. You have that kind of group chemistry. They're all sort of action stereotypes in their way. You have Jeffrey Dean Morgan sort of as that leader, kind of general sort of character. You have like a weapons expert. You have Chris Evans being more of like a tech smart guy. Different things like that. And of course, like Zoe Saldana being the sexy femme fatale and stuff like that. And I thought the movie is pretty good. I mean, again, there's a big comparison to that in A-Team. I do think the movie should have been rated R. it was only rated PG-13, so some of the action feels a little watered down more than it should be, and thus a bit dull at times, which was unfortunate. But lucky you have such a good cast here, they do carry it through. And the action is aplenty. You don't really get bored of the movie. It does have like that comic book, slightly stylized feel to it, which I did enjoy. And of course, there's a twist to it with one of the characters I think worked kind of well, and the final action sequence is pretty good. Although some of the CG gets a little bit spotty in spots. So overall, the losers I didn't mind too much. Again, I would not say it blew me away, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan is very, very likable in the movie, and you feel like these guys have been a team for quite some time. All of them have good back and forth with each other and banter, and when one of them gets at each other's throat, you kind of feel the tenseness of it. So I think the actors did a good job, and it had a slick script in spots anyway, but I think that our rating might have helped if it's just like a bloody action, madness sort of thing. It just doesn't fully go for it. But I still liked it. I'm still very fine with having it in my collection, and I'm giving it, I think about an 80%, B minus, again, right around there. And you guys thought about that one. And then we're going to be talking about Command Performance, starring Dolph Lundgren. And again, came out in 2009. And yeah, it basically has to do with Dolph Lundgren's character having this trauma in his past. Now he's this drummer with this local band in Moscow. The president, of course, with the title, commands this performance, so he has this concert playing for his kids, tied to this, they're opening for this pop star and everything. I actually forget the pop star's name. Yeah, Venus, played by Melissa Smith. Meanwhile, these terrorists are breaking into the building because one of them has a personal grudge against something the president had to do with. So then you have basically Dolph Lundgren and certain other characters that make it, trying to survive, making it to the other end to put a stop to it. So yeah, pretty simple premise there. I mean, it was actually directed by Dolph Lundgren as well as a screenplay and story, partially done by him too, which he's done quite a number of times, and I think Command Performance is a solid effort on his part. It's definitely R-rated. One of the first kills is actually pretty brutal. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, you get a little bit of time with the band, meeting the pop star and everything like that, but it does get into it fairly quickly. And, again, it reminds you of, sort of another type of arena or performance movies. And I like that aspect of it. The action was solid and just consistent throughout. I thought Dolph Lundgren gave a very good performance, something that kind of went beyond, I think, what the movie actually really was in a general sense. When you get into the trauma of his past and sort of his character's stance on things, I think he actually does a good job with it. He also has this agent, I forget the name of the character, who actually turns out to be someone capable of himself for a change, and they sort of team up and go through the building together. The pop star Venus, played by Melissa Smith, she was a bit irritating. I feel like she didn't really need to be in the movie, except to flirt with Dolph Lundgren and invite him to the after party. The kids end up having to come for her at a certain point because something happens with her brother, who's her manager, whose throat she was at the beginning of the movie. We had nothing really to complain about. I mean, I flipped it on wanting just a straight up Dolph Lundgren action flick, not really expecting a classic, but to be thoroughly entertained by what I've seen, and I think I honestly was. Again, it's a low budget kind of thing, so some people complain about it for just that aspect alone. But I thought it came off a little bit better than what it may initially seem to be. Just kind of like looking at covers and reading descriptions and such. I think it was actually pretty fairly well made. Excuse me. And I think the actor who played our main villain here, our main antagonist, actually did a good job. He felt like he had a good amount of physicality to him to fight Dolph Lundgren. The final fight scene is a little briefer than I wanted it to be, but it does feel fairly hard hitting, and you actually sort of get the guy's perspective on why he has such an issue with the current president there of Moscow. So yeah, overall I quite liked it. Again, for what it was, I'm giving it like a 79%. I feel like I could bump it up to like an 82 or something, but I'm not quite sure if I can go that far. But again, it's like pretty much all these movies, they basically serve their purpose. They do what they're going for. And this one is one that succeeded as well. And then the last movie we're going to be talking about tonight is Battle of the Damned, which came out in 2013, again starring Dolph Lundgren, and follows a deadly viral outbreak. Private military soldier Max Gatling, yes, that's his name, leads a handful of survivors and a ragtag band of robots against an army of the infected. And he ends up, of course, being the only one left in this infected zone, so he tries to extract the person he's supposed to on his own, and ends up finding these robots to help him against different little groups of hordes and such. This is one I had on Blu-ray. I ordered it some time ago. I've just gotten to be such a fan of Dolph Lundgren, and I want to see him in movies like this. And again, horror being my favorite genre, sci-fi being something I really enjoy as well, seeing in something like that, I thought it would just be fun, even if it wasn't that great of a movie. And again, another movie that I think did fine with what it went for. Cheesy, it's campy, it is silly, but surprisingly pretty good for what it is. They put a little more effort. I don't know if I want to say the choreography when Dolph is fighting some of these zombies on his own. You see the snipe and everything towards the beginning, trying to evade them and hit them at the same time. It actually looks a little bit smoother than I expected, and I think they could have done a lot less without it had they wanted to. As far as the effects go, they're not as bad as you'd think, really. I mean, I've seen far worse. They are probably still comparable to like a sci-fi sort of flick. But I've definitely seen far worse from bigger stars, actually. The zombies look fairly good, not like Walking Dead level or anything like that, but they do feel intense. They're those fast-moving zombies. And there's really no point that I can remember where I felt like it's just a guy there. They didn't really put much on him, so they make him look as ravenous as they could with their budget. Of course, the robots are CG, some practical work in there as well. Fairly, simple design, but, I liked how they're used. They don't really come in until later in the movie, though. Dolph develops a, sort of friendship with one of them. And then this group ends up finding within the city, who ends up being tied to the girl that he's trying to extract. There's some inner conflict there that I think bogged down the middle of it a little bit for me. I did watch this a few weeks ago, so I remember it wasn't completely fresh with it. But I remember it did drag just a tad with that. But seeing Dolph Lundgren again, that black do-rag made up for it. And again, it's not one you'd really seriously put among his best films, but it's one I did like, and again, like all these movies in this video, to varying degrees, I think serve their purpose, and Battle of the Damned did just that. So yeah, if I'd rate Battle of the Damned, I'm giving it like a 75%, or at least it's in that lower C range, maybe somewhere in there. Now you guys thought about it, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.